South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome into Gaughan Racing, everybody. Your jovial host, Brennan Gaughan, Jeff Motley. I got my deep radio voice on today because if you've been in Vegas lately, it's been windy and sick and allergies, and it's that time of year. So I am here, Mr. Motley. You've had allergies all year.
I've had allergies since the spring. I don't know what's going on. So I just have this weird froggy voice all the time now.
That's why we have faces for radio, and today we have voices for them. Welcome in, everybody. We had where we only have a few weeks left to keep breaking things down.
What week is this?
This is my Pete Pistone, baby. Petey, it's the penultimate race of the 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season.
Pistone penultimate moment. How about
Pete Pistone penultimate playoff race.
Playoff performance.
Pete Pistone.
How's that for some
there we go.
alliteration?
The
Pete,
Pete
I hope you're
Pistone.
listening.
Yeah, we need to tell Pete to listen today.
Tell Pete
Pistone's
sure he listens.
penultimate playoff performance race.
There you go.
All right. We did have a race last weekend that we need to button things up. And not only are we buttoning something up, Jeff, but I've been talking about Mendoza lines. You talk about Mendoza lines, and I gave myself a new personal Mendoza line. I am not just above that Mendoza line. I am above it more than the pit crew is above the Mendoza line.
Well, it's pretty impressive what you've done this week, and we can certainly talk about that in the last segment of the show. I'm feeling pretty good that I think I would have won about every other season that we've had with the way I've gone this year, especially down the stretch. So at the end of the day, Brendan, we have all made people a little bit of
yes, we have.
Change
You've been listening
to us.
Listen, all
and
these
we
guys.
Picked these on Thursday.
All these guys go on these television networks, and we're in our fabulous South Point studio where we got all these things up, and all these networks that talk about bettors and what they do, and social media people that have been fired because they don't do this, that, the other. Ain't nobody as good as what we got going on in here.
No, absolutely not. And again, I think the fact we picked this on Thursday and not on Sunday morning. Not to tear my rotator cuff, patting ourselves on the back, but
can't see it on Sirius, but we are patting ourselves on the back.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about last week, Homestead. Oh my God. Now here's the problem. Everybody now clamoring, it should go back to Homestead. The championship race should go back to Homestead. All right, settle down, everybody. But it was one hell of a race, and how about an amazing finish? And Tyler Reddick just flat out
outdrove everybody. That's no other way to say. You know what he did? He did the Homestead Hail Melon without having to use the wall to do it, because he literally drove around on the outside. I was waiting for him to hit the wall.
What I loved was he dive bombed the bottom and did a slide job in 1 and 2 to get Denny Hamlin. and then rode his line up at 3 and 4. And Blaney, I'm sorry, Blaney's the champion, and Blaney has done things in race cars that I never even came close to doing. Congratulations. What?
Well, I think that's
why?
That's the driver in you.
Where?
I sit there and I say, if I'm Ryan Blaney, I'm like, I know how fast I'm going. If he tries to go on the outside, all he's got's the wall. I didn't think there's any way Reddick was going to hold control of that car.
This is to me like Joey Logano when he said, I never thought Austin Dillon would get to me from that far back. You're not very smart because you have a guy that's going to do whatever he can to get there.
But Reddick did it as clean because he's a clean
I'm just
driver.
saying it's the same thing where Ryan Blaney's like, well, I think, dude, you either run your guts out on the bottom and drive, bonsai the hell out of it, or you run the wall where you're fast. You don't run the middle and go, I don't think.
But let me ask you this too, though. I mean, if his spotter has already just told him that Reddick just dive-bombed Hamlin on the bottom, then if you're in the middle, you feel like, okay, I'm not going to let him have the bottom.
As a driver, and that maybe this is just old guy, I don't know. As a driver, either A, I'm going to make him do a slide job and know that I have the opportunity to reverse him. Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, the famous video from Kansas, to be able to go back under him, or I run the bottom and make sure that I get that distance and he's going to have to, drag race me off the corner. But man,
at the end of the day, Reddick won because he made a great job of driving more than Ryan Blaney lost the race.
Tyler Reddick did one of the greatest jobs of driving the last 4 laps of a race that I think if you wanted to teach a young man, anybody or woman, how to drive a race car and how to be aggressive at the end of a race, you put these last 4 laps on and you see what Tyler Reddick did on the restart, lost positions, gained them back, did not panic, showed poise, and bettors were throwing their tickets out when Tyler had the bad restart, going, oh my God, and then had to push them back together. And how about the strategy move, staying out so long to where when the caution came...
Which if he hadn't gotten the caution, he in fact, if he hadn't gotten...
And he was out of the playoff. He knew he was one of those guys that had to...
They took the only risk they could, and it paid off.
Loved it. Loved it all. Let's talk about what you did win if you bet with old Tyler Reddick to win. Of course, he was a plus 500. Top 3, he was plus 170. Pretty small there. He was a plus 130 versus Larson. He was minus versus Byron, Hamlin, and Blaney, all minus 150s.
Yeah, I had two head-to-head bets that I lost betting against Reddick that I thought I was ready to cash that ticket until that last caution.
Nope. And then you have Group A plus 265, and Toyota was a plus 150.
Which was not the favorite.
That was not the favorite. Chevy was the favorite. So great job on, and I said that. We even said Toyota's still a pretty good bet, but did a nice job there. If you go to the race results, of course, you already said plus 500, plus 170. Then you got Ryan Blaney was plus 300, Denny Hamlin plus 300. On the show, we talked that those 2 plus 300 numbers were still great returns on top 3s. They both
2 guys we expected to run well and did run well.
Absolutely. But then you look at the rest of this top 10, playoff driver Christopher Bell, playoff driver Chase Elliott, playoff driver William Byron. Just out of the playoffs, but in a funny way.
But Alex Bowman has been, look, he kind of felt like he had something to prove, I think, after getting disqualified.
Absolutely. But look at the top 3, the last 3 there in the top 10. A.J. Allmendinger, our guy.
Carson Hocevar.
He is the new Chris Buescher of Gaughan Racing, cashing tickets. Brent Musburger special. And Ryan Preece. You were high on Ryan Preece.
I've been mentioning Ryan Preece every week. I don't think he's got his deal completely, at least announced yet for next year.
I think, what do you call it? What's the NASCAR head official guy's name now that I...
Elton Sawyer? Or,
no, the Cup guy.
Isn't he the Cup guy?
I'm drawing a blank. No, he's not the series director.
Series director. Is that Brad Moran?
Yeah, Brad Moran. Brad Moran came was on one of the shows and said they had Ryan Preece in the 60 testing something somewhere, and I
think it's been rumored he's got a deal together. But I'm just saying, I think Ryan Preece has been really, really solid over the last couple months. I think some guys like Ryan Preece, Zane Smith, Carson Hocevar. Some of these guys have certainly, I think, made a little bit of a name for themselves over the end of this season.
Carson has flat out made a great name for himself. He's got a bright future if he can keep, and at Spire Motorsports, where if we were expecting a team, we were expecting Corey LaJoie. It is not Corey LaJoie. It has been Carson Hocevar all year long, which is why Justin Haley is in that car now. Let's get to the championship. What's remaining, Jeff? If you're a Hendrick Motorsports fan, you are not happy.
Well, look, you made a comment last week. You talked about how, Reddick, Christopher Bell, and Kyle Larson love to run up near the wall. That can be great. that can also spell disaster. Well, it was fine for Reddick and it was fine for Christopher Bell.
Not fine.
But it was not fine for Kyle Larson.
And that was not running the wall that got him on that one.
Well, no, the first one was running the wall, and that really kind of it hurt the diffuser on the car. I mean, it took a lot of work to get back to where he was. And then, I mean, he just probably made a little calculated error there.
But now, if you look at the standings, you got Byron right now 7 points to the good over Kyle Larson. Christopher Bell looking kind of good, 29 points, Jeff. But here's the thing. You've got Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson, 3 of the best at Martinsville, 3 of the best at short tracks. You know, Hendrick Motorsports is 2 of those guys, Chase and Kyle, which they dominate Martinsville. So any of these guys can get this W.
Elliott and Blaney are going to have to win the race. They're not point. I mean, you can look and do all the math.
No, they can't. They can't.
But
period.
They've got to win. Denny, it's going to be tough. But I tell you, what's going to be really key to me for
Larson
Bell
and Byron.
But I also think the keys for Bell, Byron, and Larson, very important.
Denny Hamlin or Chase Elliott.
They need to qualify well, because you know how fast 125 laps tick off, and to get those not playoff points, but get those stage points. Those stage points are going to be very, very important, because every single point is going to count.
Well,
watch qualifying; it's going to be important.
And look, if a guy like Chase Elliott wins, that moves that cut line differently, right? I mean, if the Denny Hamlin wins, that moves that cut line. And C. Bell, he's not sitting pretty just because he
certainly isn't if Elliott or Blaney win.
Well, and you know, look, it's Martinsville, right? Things happen. Guys go in the corner, overcook it. You hit it.
Blaney and Elliott have wins there,
and this is going to be one heck of a penultimate race to the.
And we've seen some crazy penultimate races at Martinsville.
Yes,
I mean, we saw the Kevin Harvick, trying to get at the line, trying to wreck Kyle Busch just to get to the line. We saw the Hail Melon, which we'll never see that again. So it's amazing how sometimes you watch Martinsville in the spring, and you're like, okay. And then Martinsville in the fall gets here,
is chaos,
and it's kind of like it went from Dr. Jekyll to Mr. Hyde.
It is too. Upcoming schedule, real quick schedule here, Jeff. You got the Xfinity 500 Martinsville this weekend, and then next weekend the championship race at Phoenix. So we are at the end of the season, so not much left to talk about on what's there to go, except if you ain't in the playoffs, you're looking at 2025.
No, and the speed, the power, that's pretty much over now. I mean, it's Phoenix a little bit, but
finesse.
But it's a finesse track. I mean, both of them I think are considered short tracks. I think you look at the guys the 2 that are locked in right now, Logano and Reddick. I mean, they're certainly probably sitting there spending some time on the sim at Phoenix, and probably not a lot of time with Martinsville.
If I'm Logano and Reddick, all I've done is spend their teams, their crews. They've got the Martinsville car in the shop, and
that was kind of evident by Logano's performance last week, because you would think Logano would be a strong driver at Homestead, but his mind is elsewhere.
You and I both said on the bet.
They don't bet Reddick or Logano this week,
but this week, and if you look at how guys have been here, there's some guys going into Martinsville, Jeff. Denny Hamlin, 25 top 10s in 37 races. That's like 60%. There are some guys here with amazing, amazing numbers, and guys that we're talking about that are trying to make their playoff life here. This is 11 out of 18 Chase Elliott top 10s in 18 races. That's ridiculously phenomenal.
Well, and I think there are certain drivers that just the short tracks certainly just lend to their driving style. And there's no question about Denny Hamlin. I think we've seen that with Chase Elliott. Certainly Ryan Blaney has proven that. Over the years, Martin Truex Jr. too. Now, I don't know if Martin's got one last hurrah left in him, because he's only got 2 races basically left. But if it's going to be a race, it's going to be this week.
It has to be this week, because he doesn't have.
It won't be at Phoenix. And at Phoenix, let's face it, it's going to come down between the championship 4, unless it's like Chastain last year, where he can just run away from the field and get ahead of everybody.
And that's happened once in all the playoff years.
It rarely happens. Yeah. You're exactly right.
All right, when we come back, guys, we'll start to get to our odds to win, which there won't be many shockers here who the favorites are, and we'll start heading off on all the great stuff that at least I give you, not everybody else around here, but at least me.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rockin' dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grandview Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grandview Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you've still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
I'm sorry, Jeff.
You know, if NASA did a countdown like that,
a lot of people would miss a lot of takeoffs.
I'm not even going to say what could end up happening if NASA did countdowns like we just had. But
Gaughan Racin, Jeff Motley, Brennan Gaughan, South Point Studio. Welcome in to those on Sirius XM who don't get to see me laughing and hacking as we come live. But by the way, behind the booth, that was great by both of them. That's great teamwork behind the booth. That was like a tag team effort.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, at least Anne's not by herself this week.
She was a one-woman army last week. So
I believe that was the Wednesday band. We had to do the show on a Wednesday because it was a race week here in Vegas, and you
she
and
came
I were
running in with like a minute and a half to go and had everything she was like the bomb.
It's really bad when the host beat the person who's really in charge.
Standing at the door of the studio, looking like all the people in the glass behind us. We there? Hello. But anyway. Let's get to what we're supposed to do. Good thing
you had a key to the studio.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's get to what we're supposed to talk about, Jeff, and that is the odds to win the Xfinity 500 at Martinsville. And we just talked about how good some guys are. We talked about the stuff we know. Let's talk about who the favorite is. No shocker here. Co-favorites, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney. To me, a little bit of a shock, even though Blaney did win the playoff race last year. I would think that you would have all the Hendrick cars near the top. Kind of surprised they aren't. Plus 400 Denny, plus 400 Blaney, plus 500 Kyle Larson, William Byron plus 700, then double digits Chase Elliott 10-1, Christopher Bell 14, Joey Logano 16, Martin Truex Jr. also 16, a slew at 30, Chase Briscoe, Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, and Tyler Reddick all at 30-1.
2 names jump out at me right off the bat when I see the double-digit numbers, and that's Chase Elliott at 10-1 and Christopher Bell at 14-1, because these are 2 guys who have something to race for. And I think they're going to be trying to get every point they can. They're trying to win the race. Chase Elliott has to win the race. Christopher Bell doesn't necessarily have to. You talked about the Hendrick cars. You're talking about a Hendrick car getting a double-digit, and they ran 1, 2, 3 here in the spring. Wow.
And Byron getting a plus 700 is still a good number. Let's take some names out that I think we can just not talk about for the win. Joey Logano I can take out at 16-1. Tyler Reddick at 30-1 are guys that they're not there. Do we believe in the old Martin Truex, new Martin Truex? I'm going to say he hasn't shown me anything lately to keep him in that consideration, so I don't have to talk about it. And then Josh Berry. I know they put him on the front page at 30-1 because it's Josh Berry.
He's a short track ace.
Absolutely.
Let's just face that's what he is.
But
he's a short track ace.
That team absolutely, ever since Chase Briscoe got knocked out of the playoffs,
Ryan Preece has been the best car.
Ryan Preece has been the only car that's been showing up lately.
And I'm kind of with you. And I think that, look, I hate it for that organization, but let's face it, there's 2 races left for that organization as we know it now. I know there's going to still be a team there with Cole Custer next year and some Xfinity races, but let's face it, those guys are all trying to figure out what their next job is. Some that already have another job. If you're Rodney Childers right now, I understand you got a responsibility to your team for 2 more weeks for Josh Berry, but guess what? Daytona is a little over 3 months away, and if
he's already working on some notebook
isn't
stuff.
Already thinking about what he's got, because look, there's a lot of work he's going to have to do, because I'm sure there's a lot that he wants to do over there at Spire that's going to kind of shape the way things are done. I'm
sure he's already sent some notes over to say, X, Y, Z that he wants done. So I'm looking at this going, I love a Byron 700, I love a Chase Elliott, same with you, and a Seabell. Those three guys, all guys running for this. Seabell might be a little conservative, right? Doesn't quite need to win. So maybe he's going to be conservative with it, but But I'll tell you what, if Seabell is running second or third, and he sees Ryan Blaney or Chase Elliott in front of him, then he's going
to become the Tasmanian devil in the seat.
Fireworks. Well, and look, Alex Bowman, the other Hendrick car that we're not talking about, does have a win here. He's 9 starts. He's got 4 top 10s, a win. So, I mean, there's another Hendrick car that's a big return. You want to take the long shot. And if Bowman wins, and look, we all know Chase Elliott has to win or he's not going to make it. So if he's there and he can protect William Byron or Kyle Larson to make sure they get in, that they're going to be putting, a lot of effort into Bowman too still. So, there's a 30-1 shot. That's not a bad one. Let's get to the second page, Jeff, and a name that we really expected to get a win this year and has come so close but faded as of late. Ty Gibbs kicks it off at another 30-1. Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch. I can't believe Kyle Busch. Second page, 50-1. Oh, my God. Ryan Preece, Carson Hocevar, Daniel Suarez, Todd Gillen, 100. Michael McDowell, Noah Gragson, 200. Eric Jones, 250. And a field at 20-1.
I'd like to know who in the field should be 20-1 in this, but that's just me. I hate the field bet being at 20-1.
I love it because I got one this year.
Well, you got one, but what I'm saying is, why on earth would you go 20-1 and bet the field right here at Martinsville?
Because you're getting 15 drivers in it. But here's the deal. Right now in the playoffs, the way this is, Martinsville very, 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 very rarely is a fuel mileage race. So there's not like some strategy move that somebody's going to, out fuel mileage somebody. There's not many on this page I like. Chris Buescher every once in a while, maybe. Ty Gibbs is faded as of late.
It's like, it's funny with Kyle Busch. First off, some of the issues I think in some of the bigger tracks, they just haven't quite had the horsepower, which you don't have to have quite the same at Martinsville. But he's never really been, Bristol where he dominated.
Yep.
He's never been that dominant driver at Martinsville. I mean, he's had some success there, but not like what we've seen with him at Bristol.
For last 10 races, 4 top 10s, a good, not
right,
great,
respectable, but by Kyle Busch standards,
that's not good.
Right.
Yeah. No, and if you look at the last bunch of short track races, Kyle Busch, 20th best point getter, 20th in the last 10, just short tracks. What I did was 3/4 mile or shorter. Richmond, basically, and shorter.
Richmond and whatever else we run.
Yeah, I
guess Iowa falls on that list.
Iowa falls on because it's 3/4. Let's go to top 3. Kickoff right here. These come from DraftKings, which is why some of the odds are a little bit in different spots. Kyle Larson is your favorite at plus 120. Co-favorite with Denny Hamlin. Ryan Blaney, 190. William Byron, Chase Elliott, 230. Seabell, 275. Joey Logano, 350. Martin Truex Jr., plus 500. Tyler Reddick, 550. Ty Gibbs, Chase Briscoe, 600. Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace. Brad Keselowski at plus 800. And Josh Berry, 10-1. To me, do the same thing, Jeff. Reddick, take out. Logano take out. Gibbs hasn't been running that good again. I don't see any of those guys, but 230, 275, and 230. Those 3 guys we can circle again.
Yeah, I think when you look at the success, like you said, about the Hendrick cars, what they've had here, that's kind of what I'm looking at as I look at the Hendrick cars right now. I think one of the interesting things is I look up there for the top 3s right now, and I don't see Alex Bowman. And I'm kind of curious once we get to page 2 to see that, because I do think you point to the Hendrick cars when you get to Martinsville. But we've often seen somebody, get a top 3. Like we were talking about that the other day, a couple races ago, where in Las Vegas, sometimes you would see somebody get a top 3 or top 5, and you'd be like, where'd that come from? Kind of like Suarez ran 3rd here in Las Vegas. So I think we see that sometimes at Martinsville, where that driver, and could that be like a Bubba Wallace? Well, and that's who could get in there and get a 3rd, because Bubba is running to try to win a race.
Well, and Bubba's got some pressure on him. His teammate is in the finals. He just signed the contract, but he's got Michael Jordan.
Just had a baby too. Right. So now he's got. He may not be sleeping, but he's probably
needs a little extra cash in the bank account. I'm sure he's got a bonus for that.
That's a good point.
But let's talk about that Bubba Wallace plus 800. Finished 4th here in the spring. second in stage 1, second in stage 2.
And has won a truck race here. He's been to victory lane at Martinsville Speedway.
You always like to bring that one up because...
Well, you hated Martinsville.
I loved Martinsville. I just said I hated Martinsville.
You hated racing at Martinsville.
No, I actually liked it. It was me and Mike Smith. It was Richmond I really hated. But I used to say I hated Martinsville just...
See, I always thought you kind of went into Martinsville with the same attitude Kyle Busch used to take into Talladega.
I actually used to like it, but me and Mike Smith used to have that thing that I used to say I hate Martinsville.
Did you buy a grandfather clock?
No, I never bought a grandfather clock, and we're not going to talk about them giving me the manual again after Bubba beat me for that race. But Bubba, second, fourth in the race, plus 800. Here's the deal. Bubba Wallace also, he can sit there and just play spoiler. He don't give two poops about any of these guys. His guy's already in.
His guy's in, so he's not screwing it up for his own guy. So, and look, he wants to win. I'm just saying, if you're looking at that, who could be the surprise guy
Bubba
that ends
Wallace
up with top 3?
Only guy.
Bubba is the guy that I look at there at plus 800.
I'm with you. Let's get to the second page of this. Kicks off Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman both at 10-1. Austin Cindric 15, Priest 25, Suarez 28, Gilligan, Noah Gregson, Carson Hocevar all at 30, SVG at 35 with Austin Dillon there.
I can't wait to see what SVG thinks of Martinsville Speedway.
Ricky Stenhouse, Michael McDowell, Eric Jones all at 40, Zane Smith 80, John Hunter at 80. And Justin Haley 100-1.
He might surprise you though, because Martinsville.
We've
some
talked
of those
about
turns are kind of like a road
the
course.
brake pressure that you use, it is very road course-esque because you have threshold braking, trail braking. When you let off the brake to the gas, your coast, which is very road course-esque. So SVG could do okay.
Could surprise you,
but I'm still not going to take him for a top 3. To me, this page, I go to the Bowman thing that we went to last time.
He's the only one that I would even consider for top 3 right here.
And now, what about Austin Dillon 35-1? Remember what they did at Richmond? Do you put any credence in Richmond short track correlating?
I don't know that there is a short track like Martinsville. And I think
There's not.
And I think that's kind of when I talk about Kyle Busch and the success he's had at Bristol and he's had at Richmond that has not translated really over to Martinsville. I mean, we've seen guys who have been really good at Martinsville and not necessarily gone to Bristol or Richmond and run quite as well.
I can vouch for that. Richmond.
Well, that's just what I'm saying though. So I honestly don't put much into that. And boy, I tell you, it really seems like that whole team is just checked out this year. I mean, I thought we were seeing glimmers of something coming back, and I don't feel like I've seen that over the last few weeks.
I look back to the March race, the spring race, and Austin Dillon was 34th, 2 laps down. Don't remember anything happening to him in that race.
Yeah, I think the only guy on this entire board right here would be Bowman, maybe at 10-1, just because of the Hendrick influence. I mean, that's kind of what I see here.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I mean, as much as we love Hocevar to cash group tickets, not to cash.
And if you want a big crazy number, the fact that they're throwing 100-1 on Justin Haley, who about 2 or 3 times a year, all of a sudden he just shows up in the top 3. Right? It just somehow you look up and there's Justin Haley in the top 3, and you're scratching your head like, where did that come from? And he's 100-1 for a top 3. I'm just saying, if you're looking to just throw something down.
If you're looking to have a little fun and take a cheap. Well, last week the pit crew picked Austin Dillon,
and that was a flyer.
That was more than a flyer.
But it was only like 35-1. This is 100-1.
28. It was 28.
28-1. I was close. 28. It's a lot different than 100-1.
Yes.
100-1 for a top 3.
And Justin Haley every once in a while does do something like that. All right, when we come back, we'll get you to the head-to-heads, which there's some really cool numbers in the head-to-heads and our group matchups when we return on Gaughan Racing. See you in a minute, guys.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside. Or maybe you're in the mood for seafood. Big Sur Oyster Bar has fresh seafood prepared right before your eyes. Savor freshly shucked oysters, crab legs jambalaya, shrimp and lobster. Beers on tap and a selection of fine wines are perfect to pair with your seafood favorite. Whether lunch or dinner, you'll love this fun atmosphere, located just off the casino floor. Ready to shake things up? Step back in time and treat yourself to one of the oldest restaurant chains in the country. Steak and Shake, famous for original mouth-watering steak burgers and hand-dipped milkshakes in a variety of flavors. For some old-fashioned fun, try Steak and Shake.
Welcome back in, Brendan Gaughan. Jeff Motley, Gaughan Racing again, segment 3, Jeff.
I thought the guy in the studio that was the funny person was Frank Nicotero. Who knew that it was going to be our producer, Ann?
It's the whole, the glass today is
she
on
should
fire.
be on this side with Frank and put the two of them up here together. I'd like to hear that.
I'm going to stick around for punchlines today. I'm going to hang out with old Frank today and talk some sports and whatever else Frank wants to get into, because you never know with Frank.
Enjoy.
We're 2 on a 2 on a 1, or what is it? 2 on a 2 shot. 2 on a 2 shot.
2 shot.
She asked me right before we went, so I pointed to the 2 shot because we're wide. We need wide angle lens for us.
Is that like a Charlie Chaplin thing? Did he create that or something? He was this big innovator into cinema.
I need a baked potato and a fork.
Yep. Something like
no,
that.
it doesn't really play on serious or in today's day and age because nobody understands who Charlie Chaplin is. Never mind. Let's.
Dom and Maz are like, what are these guys talking about?
Yeah, they already asked us to come back, so that's our own fault.
That's true. Dom might have had a beer when he asked me those.
for those on serious, you're out of luck. They did ask us to come back. I'm sorry. For those of the South Point studio stream, yeah, you got no choice. You're stuck with me anyway. So. Let's get into the head-to-heads. Unless we sell. Anything's for sale. Head-to-heads, Jeff. There is some massive numbers here on head-to-heads, and I get why. I understand part of it, but what I don't understand is the Hendrick domination of this racetrack. You're giving me a Chase Elliott plus 155 versus Denny Hamlin minus 175, or Chase Elliott at plus 140 versus Ryan Blaney's minus 160.
Well, you're also giving me the guy who won the race in the spring plus 140 against Denny Hamlin, and still the guy who, notwithstanding his accident last week, the guy who I still think is the most talented driver in the entire circuit is getting, Kyle Larson is getting a plus 110 against Denny Hamlin. And look, I love Denny Hamlin at Martinsville, but these are head-to-heads, and plus 140 for Byron and 155 for Chase Elliott.
Look, how many years have we been talking about Hendrick and Martinsville? Good reasons, bad reasons. We'll stay off of those things. But you've always talked about Hendrick Motorsports, Martinsville, and you're giving me Kyle Larson a plus 110 versus Denny. You're giving me William Byron plus 140 versus Denny. You're giving me Chase Elliott 155 versus Denny. You're giving me Byron plus 125 versus Blaney. Chase plus 140 versus Blaney. These numbers are way too good to pass up. You and I noticed one in the bottom right corner, though. Plus 105, Josh Berry, minus 125, Bubba Wallace. If there's a minus line, now, folks, NASCAR racing, minus betting. Not a lot of reason to bet minuses in our sport. One, because of the fact that a tire can blow at any moment, or a motor, or you're going to somebody else's wreck. But if there's a minus line that I like, it's Bubba Wallace at minus 125 versus Josh Berry.
I could definitely see that, the way that team has gone. And before we leave the driver head-to-heads, Kyle Larson, I know he's a Hendrick driver, but he's head-to-head with two of his fellow teammates, William Byron at plus 130 and Chase Elliott at plus 140. Now, I love Kyle Larson, and I just said I think he's the best driver on the circuit right now.
Absolutely. Might be one of the best in the world.
Kyle Larson, you correct me if I'm wrong here, he has 19 starts at Martinsville. He has 1 win. He has 5 top 5s and 7 top 10s. Compared to some of his teammates, that's somewhat pedestrian numbers for a guy like Kyle Larson. I'm just saying this has not been a track where Kyle Larson rolls off the truck and everybody says, "Man, we got to beat the 5 today."
If I go to the stats on you, which are the last 10 races, Kyle only has 8 starts in the last 10 versus everybody else has 10. He's got 4 top 5s. Chase Elliott has 4 top 5s out of 10, and William Byron has 5 top 5s out of 10. Byron has 2 wins and 7 top 10s. So I mean, he is absolutely. Their numbers are all right there.
Exactly.
But
so when
if I
you
was
give
to pick
somebody,
one, I'd pick Byron or Chase over Kyle Larson.
But that's my point. When you're that close and you get that big, you don't have plus 105 or plus 110.
It's not a minus 110, plus 110, or 105. You've got that big of a spread.
And that's no offense to Kyle Larson.
No,
I'm just saying that,
and Chase Elliott is in a way more desperate situation than Kyle Larson is.
Yeah, Kyle Larson needs to have 2 good stages and
just beat his teammate,
right?
Type thing. All right, let's get to the group matchups, and there are some fun ones in the groups today. Our Group A's, I'll tell you what, way to go, Westgate, coming up with some enticing numbers and some fun numbers in the groups. Group A, you kick off Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney co-favorites at 225, Kyle Larson 280, and William Byron 375.
Well, I look at these 3 guys and I don't see a great deal of separation in terms of their performance on the racetrack.
Bingo.
But I see a great separation in this group.
Do you remember 4 weeks ago? I bet William Byron because he was like 440,
455 or something.
Yeah, he was
and you won on that,
number,
I believe.
And he won.
And look, I could easily see him doing it again. Plus 375, William Byron, give it to me all day.
I can take him. I can take the Byron. Byron Larson is plus 130 head to head. Byron's plus 130 versus Larson head to head, or I can get a 375, and he's beating Denny or Blaney. Same thing. I like that 375. The only thing that makes me nervous is William is in that spot that he doesn't need to win the race. He just wants points and to run well. Where Denny is desperate, Blaney is desperate. So that has me a little nervous to say, but I do love the 375 in Group 1.
But Byron is not comfortable enough in the points not to be trying to win.
Nope, absolutely. I don't disagree. It's not as big of a deal as I was a couple weeks ago, but I do love that William Byron 375 just for the return because he can win this race. He did win it in March, and he's the dog here. Do like that. Group B might be the easiest one for me to handicap in this entire thing. I know.
Sounds like you and I are going to be picking a lot of the same picks this week because I think you and I are thinking along the same lines.
You got 3 favorites: Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, Martin Truex Jr. all at 250. Chase Briscoe at 335. I'm sorry.
If Christopher Bell doesn't have a flat tire or have a mechanical problem, I mean, the only guy here I see who I would even give even a hint of a nod to is Martin Truex Jr. just trying to go out all out for his final race.
I will give you a food for thought. Of the last 10, this driver has only raced 7.
You're going to say Chase Briscoe, probably.
He's got 5 top 10s.
But we talked about where 10th, Stuart Haas 4th, is right now.
5th, 9th. So if there was a driver that would make me...
But he was never in a lame duck car in those races.
If there was ever a guy that made me scratch your head and make you say, I could say Chase Briscoe at 335.
Which is why he's 335.
But this team, now that they're out of the playoffs, the whole Stuart Haas group, as much as you want to say they want to end strong and all the positives that you're given there, it's very difficult to stay as a positive, cohesive unit right now.
No, I completely agree. I mean, there's one guy in that group who is hungry. Well,
and
he's not. No, he's not in the playoffs if he screws up.
Well, but
Christopher Bell is hungry.
All he needs is singles. He doesn't need a grand slam. He just needs singles right now. Get a solid, get 7th, 8th place stage 1. 8th, 9th place stage 2. Finish 8th, 9th, 10th.
But he should be the favorite in this group.
Yes,
no doubt.
And he's co-favorite, but I like Seabell. That to me is a lock this week. Let's get to Group C. I have another one I think you and I are going to greatly agree on. Josh Berry, Brad Keselowski, both 265. Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, both 270. We have talked about this guy recently, and Josh Berry, same thing we just talked about with Chase Briscoe. Brad Keselowski hasn't really... They faded late in this season.
They faded. I think once the playoffs were over for them, they kind of seem like they're already pointing toward 2025.
The only fear is Brad has 4 top 5s in the last 10 races here.
Well, and all you drivers, once you strap that helmet on, you're trying to win. I mean, it doesn't.
But I'll give you a caveat to that stat. His last 4 have been 24th, 33rd, 24th, 36th.
And I'm thinking that Bubba Wallace has got a lot better average finishing positions than Brad Keselowski does.
So I'm sitting here going, well, we just talked about this guy a bunch, and you're telling me Bubba Wallace is sitting in this group, Tyler Reddick has nothing to race for.
Yeah, Reddick needs to be sitting on a beach sipping something with an umbrella in it right now.
He's looking for a waiver. Reddick is looking for a way to get a waiver so he didn't have to show up this week.
Might just go on head to Phoenix now. He and Joey ought to just go on head to Phoenix, play a couple rounds of golf out there in Scottsdale or something.
Reddick right now is going, I got a cold. I need a waiver. So you and I both are high on the Bubba Wallace pick right here. That to me screams easy money in my book. So let's get to Group D, Mr. Motley. Group D is Ty Gibbs, your very high favorite at plus 235. Then Chris Buescher, Ross Chastain, Kyle Busch at all 280. If this is any other year of my life, and you told me Kyle Busch was in Group D against Ty, Chris, and Ross at the dog, I would circle this and say lock, lock, lock.
But it ain't every other year.
This is not every other year.
And, this is my group where I just say, I'm just not.
This sucks this week. This is one of those weeks
Nothing jumps out at me in this group. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've kind of been disappointed this year in Gibbs. I really was expecting big things out of him this year.
He started great. He started off on that trajectory, and then it faded for him.
I think Buescher, Chastain. Honestly, I think this group probably come down between those two guys because even though they're out of the playoffs, we know those guys run hard for wins every week, and I think
the most consistent of this whole group.
Kyle wants to win. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's got 2 races left to try to keep his streak going, but we just haven't seen that fire out of that team.
He didn't have the fire right now. No, I agree with you. So, I mean, if you want to take the 2 in the middle, Chris and Ross, those are your best bets to me, in my opinion.
But again, I'm not betting this group.
Betting this one. This is my ex also. Group E, the guy you've been talking a lot about lately, Ryan Preece and Carson Hocevar are co-favorites. Todd Gilliland, 285. Daniel Suarez, 290. Sadly, the 2 guys you and I both, are Carson Hocevar been our man this year.
Can you imagine if this had been last week and you picked Preece, for example, and he gets a top 10 and he still loses the group to... I mean, the fact that Preece is up in Group E along with Hocevar, I think speaks volumes to the way they've run lately.
The Hocevar is still the man has cashed some tickets.
I'm betting Hocevar until he does not cash a ticket. I'm telling you right now, I'm all in on Carson Hocevar.
I will next time I see Carson, I will tell him that he is the new Chris Buescher of Gaughan Racin. That it is now Carson Hocevar, Carson Hocevar, Carson Hocevar. We need to call Ron Flatter and tell him the name has changed.
Right, but it's too bad we'd have a Group H. Would make it a lot better,
Oh God,
get the last
Hocevar.
name, whatever. Yeah. Anyway,
that was a tough one to break.
No, but I Hocevar to me, I'm so in on Hocevar right now. I'm taking Carson Hocevar.
Look, I cannot give you anything to say no to that. I'm trying to find where he was in the spring.
I don't care where he was in the spring.
17th, and it would have won.
But here's the other thing: he's running way better now than he was in the spring too.
I don't doubt that. All right, when we come back, Jeff, we have Group F to finish up our matchups and then our picks, and we get to
pat our backs
a little bit more because somebody above the Mendoza line.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun, and our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3-2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
And welcome back in. Final segment, Gaughan Racin, Jeff Motley, Brendan Gaughan. We are wrapping up everything that is the Xfinity 500 in the Pete Pistone's penultimate playoff performance race of 2024.
Wow, we have a new name for it.
Pete Pistone's penultimate
Too
playoff
bad it's not
performance
at
race.
Phoenix or Pocono.
Oh, we could have. I got to call Pete today. That reminds me, I'm definitely calling Pete after the show, telling him he has to go to the stream and listen. I don't think we're on the SiriusXM app where you can listen to us back again.
No, I don't think so. But he could just get in his car and listen to us when we're on the air on Friday.
That's what I do in the mornings when I'm taking the kids to school. I listen to Pete and Mike, so he can do it back.
So he should listen to us when he's picking them up from school or something on Friday.
Let's get to Group F for the Martinsville race. In Group F, Jeff, Zane Smith, Austin Dillon, co-favorites 265, Justin Haley, Austin Cindric 270. There's a reason why they're so tightly matched, and normally we love Group F. Group F has always been one of our favorites. This week,
if I had to pick somebody, I think I'd pick Zane Smith. He's been the best guy out of these four down the stretch.
I just look at this and kind of go, man, Austin Cindric at Penske, one guy in the Final Four, one guy in the racing for the Final Four, and RCR, Austin Dillon, two big teams down here in Group F that you scratch your head and go, they've got some work to do for 2025.
And I actually expected a little bit out of Haley when they made the driver swap. I know it's hard to do that in the middle of the year. So let's see. Let's see how next year goes when he gets there. But, Zane Smith's been the best of these four over the last 2 months.
So this group, to me, very, very difficult to pick. Best short tracker in the group is Austin Dillon, has the most experience, but has not raced that way lately. So tough for us to pick one there. Let's get to the manufacturer prop. And I actually like this today, Jeff. Chevrolet, your favorite, at plus 140. Toyota, plus 180. Ford, plus 220. Not the big numbers for Ford the last few weeks. But listen.
That's because Blaney has been so good at Martinsville.
But you're telling me I can get
all 400 guys?
William Byron, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson at 140?
Yeah, I like the fact that they're not plus 105 this week or plus 110, that they're 140. I think that plus 140 is a really good bet on Chevy. The Toyota's not bad at plus 180. My only fear on the Toyota is you really only feel like you're getting Denny Hamlin and Christopher Bell. Bubba could pull an upset because I'm just not expecting it out of Reddick. I'm not expecting anything out of the other two Gibbs cars. So I really kind of feel like you're limited, whereas the Chevy pick, and it's not that much of a discrepancy, you got a lot of pretty quality drivers in there.
And what's funny is I want to mention this. We didn't talk about it earlier. We talk about Toyota. We keep forgetting that there are two other Toyotas in the field that we just don't talk about, and that's Legacy with John Hunter. And we always talk about things, and we never mention that there's actually more Toyotas, but they have not seemed to contribute this year.
And I think once they're competing for wins, then they get more into the conversation.
All right, let's do a quick look at our future bet. Not much left in the future, but there is wowzer. There is some money to be made if you want to throw a bet right now. Chase Elliott 50-1, Ryan Blaney 20, and Denny Hamlin 20.
What's there to lose?
Absolutely nothing. And you hedge you put a $100 bet on this, and one of those three makes it. Now you can take a big flyer on a winner at Phoenix. I think that's a phenomenal number. And
you bet $10 on each of those guys. There's a chance to win $500 on Chase or $200 on Blaney or Hamlin, and like you said, and then just go ahead and pick somebody to win the championship next week. Heck, pick a couple guys to win the championship,
and you've hedged your bet perfectly. So this is the time. Kyle Larson, the highest he's been, I think, all season, plus 500. But
I think they're thinking the same thing I am. I think that this is Reddick's championship to win. I really do.
Plus 200 for Reddick.
And there's a reason he's down to plus 200.
That's pretty impressive. All right, let's get into last week and how we all did. And Jeff, you had a very good week, 4 units. Got yourself
my man Carson
Hocevar and Bowman, DNF. Those were the two. Bell in Group B. That was a tough beat there. Bell was running well, and
Yeah, well, and he still finished fourth in the race.
Yes, I mean, he was still right
but
there.
I think he was in the same group with Denny Hamlin, who ended up finishing third, beat him out there.
You had Byron and Bell both beating Reddick until
the last caution flag. So I was looking really, really good, but
and I will, if we give a late bloomer, Jeff Motley, you went from like minus this season. You were minus 10 at one point, I think, this season, all the way to plus 35 units now.
I'm feeling pretty good about it. I finished strong like Carson Hocevar and Ryan Preece and Zane Smith.
Yes, you did.
Unfortunately, I'm running behind Tyler Reddick and Joey Logano.
We'll skip me for a moment. We'll go to the pit crew for last week. They did have the Austin Dillon top three, which we questioned it when they did that. Byron, Elliott, Gibbs, Busch, they had the old-fashioned jinx on every one of them. Bad week for them.
The pit crew is not out of the woods on the Mendoza line.
I tell you what, I haven't seen their picks this week, but I have a funny feeling they're not going to be taking the big wild card shot that they took last week with Austin Dillon. I think they'll get there.
One that has me surprised.
I haven't looked at it yet. I'm trying to be surprised when I read it. But then the man, the myth, and the legend. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Can you really call yourself that?
I just did.
I feel like I'm sitting here with Muhammad Ali.
I'm 109.2 units to the good.
You realize Muhammad Ali, Ricky Henderson are the only two guys I've seen who are in your level of humbleness.
We got a clown in a panda suit and a clown jester on the screen up above us here.
Oh, yeah, we got the Pat McAfee show on in the studio.
Go to any of the other sports networks. You find me anybody that's 109 units, betting 5 units at a time for the season. I was 7. I was the big winner for the week also. Won 3 of them. I had Byron over Larson.
And then you followed my coattails on those two group
I followed
picks.
Your coattails.
Well, I did pick first.
So I follow his coattails.
I'm just saying I picked first. If you really were brave, you would be going opposite.
Hey, mine, they're already written down. I write them down on a parlay card slip, which is what I grab every week because it's right in front of me.
I still get to pick before you again this week.
So I'm just saying, my Mendoza line of 100, my personal Mendoza line how long ago did I talk about my personal Mendoza line? Was that 3 months ago?
It was about when the playoffs started, I believe.
When the playoffs started.
You were at about plus 75, I think.
I said I was going for 100. All I got to do is win one bet the next 2 weeks. My Mendoza line is done. I made it. One bet.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you're going to be remote next week and not have to sit here with that grin on your face looking at me from 5 feet away.
I wish you could. Hey, Sirius XM, go to the South Point stream. So, with that being said, I am 109 units, 7 to the good from last week, 7.7 to be exact. I didn't check your math. Do I need to check your math? Okay. So, having a good season.
I need a calculator to keep up with yours these days. So
the 3 of us, 109 units, 35 units, and 9 units, basically roughly rounding up. That's a hell of a season, guys, for just a bunch of clowns in a little casino right here that talk about racing and we've
done all right.
We ain't half bad at what we do. With that said, let's get to, of course, we've on Gaughan Racing do the worst to first theory, and that is back in the pit crews category, which they spent a lot of the year at, had dug out, now are back in it. They are going to kick off with a Reddick top 3 at plus 550.
There's my surprise.
There's the one you're surprised with. Look, can Reddick absolutely run top 3 here? 1,000,000%. If Reddick wasn't already locked in, would we have talked way different about Reddick? 100%.
Correct.
I just struggle with that bet just for that reason. I do like the Elliott versus Hamlin and the Elliott versus Blaney. Those are 2 that I'm kind of bummed out because they're kind of copying me. Then you got Bell in Group B, and you have Chastain in Group D.
The group that we threw up the X on.
Yeah.
So there we go.
All right. Well, I don't dislike those. They got a few that I like in there. So with that, Mr. Motley, what say you?
Well, I did not learn my lesson by picking against a driver last week like I picked against Tyler Reddick and lost both bets.
Going on the don't line again.
I'm going on the don't line. This week, the don't line is on Denny Hamlin. I'm going William Byron at plus 140 against Denny, and I'm going Chase Elliott at plus 155 against Denny. I'm going to be very curious to see what your pick is in Group B a little bit. Actually, let me give you Group A first. I'm going William Byron as the long shot Group A. I like that. Group B, I see the pit crews picked Christopher Bell. I've picked Christopher Bell, and we've had 5 consecutive shows that if we have all 3 picked the same one, that we have been correct. So I'm curious if you stick with the Christopher Bell, and that means congratulations, Christopher. You're probably going to be headed to Phoenix as part of the Final Four. And I told you, I'm picking against Carson Hocevar until Carson Hocevar loses a bet for me.
Not against. You said against.
Oh, I'm picking him. Yes, I'm picking with him. I am riding.
You're riding that
horse. You ever
horse.
seen anybody said I'm riding the Carson Hocevar train? Well, guess what? I'm on the Carson Hocevar bandwagon right now.
See, and this is what makes betting so much more fun to watch a race.
We would be
You're
talking
not talking about
Carson
Carson Hocevar in the race, but as a bettor, this is what I still wish the networks could figure out. And
they're trying. They're
no,
trying
not.
a little
No,
bit.
they're not. They're hiring idiots to do it.
Okay, well, that's...
And they think they're hiring people that are getting paid a lot of money, and they're hiring idiots, and that's what they are. Sorry. Anyway.
Jeff Binky, that was Brendan Gaughan.
That's okay. He can call me all he wants. He's got my number. So I'm sticking with 2 head-to-heads this week, but I'm not going to go the don't line. I'm mixing mine up. I'm doing the Chase versus Denny at plus 155, and then I'm going to do the Byron versus Blaney plus 125. I'm going to mix mine up there just to keep it a little fresh. Then I will say congratulations to Christopher Bell in Group B at plus 250 because unlike the SI Jinx, we have been the Gaughan Racin lock when we do that. So hopefully that stays true. I am going to stick with Bubba Wallace in Group C. I do think that is the reasons I gave for it were a solid bet. And then instead of taking a top 3 this week, I'm going to go to the manufacturer prop, and I'm going to give me a plus 140 for the Chevys. I think the Chevys are going to be a good run this week.
Well, and you picked that. Those last 2 bets of yours were 2 that I really looked at and really liked too. So I think you're going to be safely over your 100.
My Mendoza line
after this week. Yep, I feel really good about that. So who are the 2 that are going to join Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick?
I think it's really hard not to have Seabell get in there. And then I think that it's going to right now the Hendrick cars are the favorite to get it. I think that William Byron is the one that keeps it. I think Byron stays there, and we got Byron going to the Championship 4, and then it'll be fun for us to look at our, we'll try to do a little recap of our picks from early in the season next week.
I actually agree with you, but boy, it is so hard to think that Kyle Larson won't be in those 4
2 years in a row too. That would be
it is. It's hard for me to fathom that Byron won't be there, but I'm with you. I agree with you. I think I'm picking the same group you are.
Larson is look a talent that we haven't seen. I know we always talk about a generational, and Kyle Busch was one, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy, but
you're right.
There ain't no driver like Kyle Larson.
And guess what? We had drag racing and Vegas this weekend.
Tony Stewart going
for Rookie of the Year.
And did I hear
John Force is going to be back? He's not racing, but John's going to be there, hang out with the fans, support his teams. He's got Austin Prock and Jack Beckman trying to win championships.
Listen, I'm just glad that he's walking into the track. That's great to see. John Force, love to have you back.
John. We love John.
Thank you guys. Thanks for the Pete Pistone penultimate playoff performance round. We'll talk to you next week.